Hey, it's Michelle Caruana, owner of Climbing Vines Cafe and Play and founder of Play Cafe Academy, where we help business owners get their indoor play business off the ground and as successful as possible. Today, I want to share with you 3 things that nobody else will tell you about starting an indoor play business. Now, number 1 is that a lot of times, especially when you're getting started, you will be the most overworked and most underpaid person in your facility. So what I mean by that is when you're first getting your Play Cafe off the ground, and in our experience specifically, we weren't able to take a paycheck for a considerable amount of time. I'm talking years. And if you follow my blog, if you have seen my other videos, you know that we made some mistakes getting started. We signed a lease that we probably shouldn't have. We made some mistakes in designing our play space around our different revenue flows, and we would have done a lot differently. Again, check out our blog in the link below if you want to check out that information. But we weren't able to take a paycheck for a considerable amount of time. And even today, I always struggle with paying ourselves what I think we deserve and what we earn based on our revenue. And when you're beginning, a lot of times you'll automatically think that your business profit equals your paycheck. And unfortunately, that's usually not the case. You can definitely set this business up to earn a substantial amount of money for your family. However, when you're getting started, it's really hard to see those payroll checks go out for your employees and get nothing in return. So in my Play Cafe owners group, we talk all the time about how difficult it is to, work these 40, 50-hour weeks and just not see a paycheck at the end of it. It's very difficult, but I don't want that for you, and it doesn't have to be that way. That's one of the biggest misconceptions of starting a brick and mortar business, is that you can't earn enough to sustain it, not only business on itself, but also to provide money for your family. So that is a truth, and that when you're first getting started, you definitely will be the most overworked and most underpaid. But if you are a student in the Play Cafe Academy, or you follow our other material on our blog or our YouTube channel, then you know that it doesn't have to be this way, and you're already well on your way to earning that first substantial paycheck. Number 2 is that bringing your children to work is not always glamorous. So a lot of times people will come in and they'll see me with my 2 toddlers. I have a 1 and a 3-year-old behind the counter, and a lot of times they'll say, "Wow, you're so lucky you get to bring your kids with you. This is the dream. Best of both worlds. I get to have them with me and spend time with them and make these memories, but I also get to earn a living." And a lot of times it's really hard to hear, because that's honestly the hardest part of owning a Play Cafe business, is that my children are often there multiple times a week. In the beginning, they were there every day. And they get very comfortable, and a lot of times they'll forget to share, or if they're having a bad day, I have to handle that in the public eye with all of my customers around. And while I cherish this privilege and I feel very, very lucky to have this opportunity, it's definitely not always glamorous. And I do my best to be as authentic as possible and really document our journey and really show our customers exactly what it's like to have your kids behind the counter, so that when they do come in and I'm, nursing my son, and my 2-year-old is eating a bag of chips, they know that, that's just the way it is. And unfortunately, that's our family dynamic now. And I shouldn't say unfortunately again, because it really is a privilege. But a lot of times people assume that bringing your children to work really is the dream. But when you're trying to check someone in or make a coffee, and you have, one nursing, one pulling at your pant leg, it's definitely not as glamorous, again, as it's cracked up to be. But again, this is the stuff that memories are made of. And we've had a professional photographer come and shadow us at our business a couple different times. And I can't tell you how much I cherish these memories and the legacy that I'm leaving for my children. And I just can't wait to sit down with them someday when they're older. Again, they're 1 and 3, so they're a little bit, they can't really understand exactly why this is different for our family. They just accept it as normal that we own our own business and that they come to work with mommy all the time. But I'm so excited once they really have that consciousness developed, that we can sit down and look at the pictures and say, wow, look at how hard we worked together. Look at how amazing and special your childhood was. And I look forward to those memories. But when you're in the thick of it, it's really difficult. And unless you have a strong support system, or a spouse, or sitters, or staff that is willing to kind of help you juggle your children and the tasks that need to be performed in the business, then I'm not going to lie, it's going to be very difficult, especially if your children are little, or if you're planning on adding any new additions while you open your Play Cafe. We welcomed our second son during our first year of ownership, and I will definitely, again, tell you that it wasn't easy, but it is so, so worth it in the end. Number three, which is the last thing that I'm going to share with you today, is that when you own a Play Cafe, especially when you own something that is very customer facing, so customers come in, they either see you personally or they'll see your story on the wall. They'll, just be curious about who owns the facility. They'll look on your website, they'll look to your blog, they'll look to your Instagram, all that stuff. And you almost become sort of a local celebrity. And while a lot of people really seek that limelight and they love the attention, I'm more of an introverted person. So this has been one of the most challenging aspects of the business to me. I see people at our local grocery store and they immediately recognize me as the owner of Climbing Vines, and they stop and talk and they want to chat about my business journey and all that good stuff. And while I always appreciate talking to customers, a lot of times it's a lot of pressure to have people recognize you. And honestly, I can't even imagine being more than a little micro local celebrity because it's hard enough. If I'm at another local play place, people automatically question my motives and they say, oh, the owner of Climbing Vines Cafe and Play is here. I wonder if she's scoping out the competition. When really I'm just trying to let my kids burn off their energy in a new, fresh location because, as I discussed in my previous point, my kids get really comfortable in our Play Cafe. And while that can be a very good thing and they feel very at home there, it can also lead to behavior issues and sharing issues, and they don't like splitting my attention while we're there. So again, that is something that I've noticed, that people will question my motives when I go to another facility, even if they're not a direct competitor. And also if my kids act up in public, people, again, immediately recognize me. And this is probably a self-imposed, I'm probably just reflecting my own insecurities onto myself, but I always feel like people are judging me when my children act up at either other play places or even at the grocery store or the mall, anywhere like that. Anytime my children start to absolutely lose it and I have to discipline them and parent them in public, and I know that people recognize me, it's really intimidating. But again, I am so lucky for the support in my community, and people really could not be nicer. And again, this is probably just me reflecting my own insecurities, and I'm sure they don't feel that way. I'm sure they're not judging me when I'm disciplining my kids for climbing out of the stroller for the 4th time. But I will say that it's definitely a lot of pressure. And if you love the limelight, and even if you don't, it's definitely not a bad thing. You just have to make sure that you put the proper boundaries in place in your business. So for example, I have one of our staff managers monitor our Facebook messages because a lot of times they can be nasty. Sometimes reviews can be nasty, not very often, but once in a while they can be. And I've learned that I take that feedback really personally and I take it to heart. So I really try to have someone help me manage my inbox and help me manage these incoming customer conversations so that my spirit is protected. I'm not feeling attacked personally, because it's taken me a long time to realize that when somebody reviews my business, they're not necessarily attacking me personally. But again, just this boundary helps my introverted self really manage the, again, incoming conversations that happen multiple times every single day. So those are the 3 things I wanted to share with you that nobody else will about starting an indoor play business. And again, this wasn't to scare you or discourage you. It's just to be really honest, because these are 3 things that I did not anticipate when I started this business, and they've definitely been 3 of the most challenging. So as long as you go into this business journey prepared, and again, you set the proper boundaries in place and establish a really strong support system so that you can maybe work at the business without your kids a couple times a week, then you're going to really set yourself up for success, not only financially, but also mentally and physically. So have a great day, and I look forward to seeing your success in Play Cafe Academy, and I can't wait to hear about your own Play Cafe business.